You know, Andrew, I mean, there's not a person out there that is not a fan of yours. You have done it the right way on and off the field. And to have the exclamation point of an incredible season for you, culminating in a Super Bowl victory. When we had Matthew on, we had him walk us through that moment when he knew that you guys did it. What was that like for you? Take us back to that moment where you're like, holy shit, I'm about to win a Super Bowl.
It was pretty wild. I mean, obviously the last drive for offensively to go down and score that touchdown was just this, you know, however how long it took, 6 minutes. It felt like it took 3 years, but it was one of those things that once you did it, you were like, all right, we got one of the best defenses in the NFL. We have a guy named Aaron Donald. You just know this guy's going to make a play at some point. But there's still obviously the nerves of anything can happen in a football game. And standing on that sideline, I can remember when he actually makes the play and takes Burrow to the ground, the ball hits the ground, incomplete. And I literally was just frozen. I can remember Jake Gervais, one of the guys, walks up and gives me a hug. And I'm just like staring as hard as I could, like, what just happened? Was that fourth down? Was that the end? Like, what happens now? Like, there's got to be some other hill
what happens now? Right.
Right. So, but it was unbelievable. And I can remember just me and Matthew just kind of making eye contact. And it was like, what just happened? I mean, it was just an amazing emotional moment.
So Matthew said that, you know, Cooper, they didn't know it was fourth down at all. What, I mean, you just said it. Is it fourth down? Did you not know? Or were you like, it is, but your mind is foggy? What was happening there?
I wouldn't say I'm a superstitious guy, but in the NFC Championship, at a point in the game, I just stopped sitting on the bench and I started going down on the edge of the sideline, just like sitting on a knee, almost out of the area of the team per se,
wow.
just watching the game like on a knee from a length. And so I was like, it just felt for some reason, like instead of sitting on the bench, just waiting, it felt like I was like engaged more. And so I was watching the game that way in the NFC Championship, and obviously things worked out. And so at some point in the Super Bowl, I was like, you know what? I'm going down there. I'm going to just kind of get way away from everybody and watch from an angle. And that's where I was standing down there. So I knew it was fourth down, but it was like when the ball fell, you still start questioning every rule you've ever been taught by a coach. Like, is there a situation where they can get the ball back somehow? Like, what Rolodex do I have of situations where there's something that could happen and something bad could happen? So it took a moment to just be like, nope, that's it. Okay. All right. It's it. We won. But it's like once it hits you, you were just, you know, obviously all the emotions go, but you wanted to question the moment so much at first.
Well, and this is coming from me as a Seattle fan growing up there. Yeah, we thought we had won that second one. And you're like, holy shit, this is it. We got it. And then an interception. So to your point, like in a second, anything can change. And so when you actually know that time's expired, you're not seeing an official or make some ruling that we're going back on the field for 1 second or whatever it was, it's got to be pretty incredible. And going back to, I won't make you pick because that's not fair. Was the Lombardi or the Walter Payton a bigger award for you because they're both incredible in their own right? But when you found out that you were the Walter Payton Man of the Year, how did you feel when you were going to know that you were going to be a recipient of such an incredible award?
I think it was an amazing experience and something that's so humbling to be chosen amongst your peers that way. I do feel like for me personally, I'm a complicated human being sometimes when it comes to that stuff.
What do you mean?
I love doing things for people. I love charity work. I love people that's how their heart's driven. And like, that's what they want to do is make things about more than just themselves. I love that. But I hate the attention around it sometimes. And so it was always like, you know, obviously I was nominated, I think 4 or 5 times. And I never wanted to play along. Like, you have to post about it. You kind of have to, like, they want you to, like, you know, get followers. And so I never posted in the 5 years ever. I always refused. I was a bad, you know, NFL player, if you want to say, in the marketing of Walter Payton Man of the Year, because I just felt like it was one of those things that I always wanted. Maybe it was just for me personally. I always wanted to keep it about the people I'm doing it for and about the causes that matter and not about myself. And so it was hard to kind of like, it took a lot from Melissa, my wife, to get me to like just accept it. Like, it's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with being acknowledged that way. It's real. It's who you are. So it took me a little while to honestly accept it. And then once it kind of happened, and honestly, the video before I went out to speak calmed me down.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, that makes any sense. Like watching myself out in the community, it made me feel like, okay, that's just who I am and that's okay. And I'm going to go out here and talk about it.
But then you go out there and you should teach a class on either memorizing that speech or reading the teleprompter, because I'm sitting next to Jarrett and he's like, is he reading this, or is this, from memory, or is he just going? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You could teach presidents. You could teach me. You nailed it. What went into it, memorizing it or reading it? Tell us everything, because you nailed it.
Well, what was cool is that Tuesday before they'd said, look, you're one of the finalists. You need to write a speech. And so I just came home from the infamous Breakfast Club. And I was like, you know what? I just been with Matthew and Coop and everybody and all the wives. And so I was like, I want to sit down and just reflect for a second. If this is really what happens, what would I want to tell people? And so I just sat down on my computer and just started typing and kind of text out what I thought I would say. And then obviously Melissa helped me not sound like an idiot. And she came home and kind of edited it for me. I'm not exactly the best speller and writer in the world, but I can talk if you give me something to talk about. So I felt good about that part. But when I went out there, it really just became a mixture of kind of the thoughts I'd put together that Tuesday and what was on my heart. And I kind of just blended both. And I really have always kind of had a knack for when I have a message or something I want to talk about, I don't really need anything, any prompters or notes or any of that stuff. I just kind of go from a place of what I feel comfortable is a representation of what I believe and think. And so it was really cool. I think part of that speech, I'm up there looking around the room wow, who's in this room, how cool this is. As an offensive lineman, we don't even know what that means. The only time he gives us some attention is whether they're throwing a flag or saying we did something wrong. So that's about the only time you get attention in the NFL. So it was a really cool moment for an old lineman.
Incredible. So 16 years, you could go back to your first year in the league. You're a rookie. What advice do you give yourself?
Oh, man, I think there's so many things. It's probably a rough couple of years there where I had a lot of things I needed advice about. But, I think really just embrace the moment, put your head down and realize that if you'll just invest, your energy and time into chasing that better version of yourself and realize you'll be greater later if you'll do that, and you'll sacrifice a little bit and just trust the plan, trust the passion you have for yourself, and realize that you're your own best investment. And if you can invest in you, you'll have a chance to be successful in one way or form or fashion one day down the road.